Like it or not, the pandemic has reduced traditional kidnapping opportunities for criminals as potential targets spend more time at home. However, the reduction in personal encounters combined with higher digital exposure has driven criminals towards a virtual kidnapping alternative. Virtual kidnappings are extortion schemes that trick victims over the phone into paying a ransom to free a loved one they believe is being threatened with violence or death. In some cases, a person in the background can be heard crying or screaming. No one is physically kidnapped in these extortion schemes, but through deception and threats, they coerce victims to pay a quick ransom before the scheme falls apart. A virtual kidnapping scam usually involves the following activities. 1. The victim receives a call. 2. The criminals demand a ransom. They either threaten to harm or kill the alleged kidnapped victim if a ransom payment isn't received, or they request payment in the form of transfers, gift cards, or crypto payments. Then the criminals sometimes claim to not have received the ransom and demand that they make another payment. And finally, family makes contact with the alleged victim after the incident and finds out they are safe. On average, families send thousands of dollars to the scammers before contacting any law enforcement, which is one indicator why most virtual kidnappings for ransom remain unreported. While the FBI doesn't keep a separate record for virtual kidnappings, the number of reported extortion scams increased to 76,000 compared to 43,000 the previous year. If you receive a phone call from someone who demands payment of a ransom for a kidnapped victim, you should first slow down the process. Then ask to speak to your loved one. Then ask a personal question such as a birth date or color of the person's hair or eye color. Then listen carefully to the voice of the alleged kidnapped victim and ask questions only the victim would know. Then request the kidnapped victim call back from his or her cell phone. If the person refuses those requests, have someone else try to call or text your loved one who you're being told is being held hostage. Avoid sharing information about you or your family during the call. Then attempt to text or contact the victim via social media. Of course, always report it to the local police. And don't agree to pay a ransom by wire or in person. Delivering money in person can be dangerous. Victims of virtual kidnapping extortions are usually elderly people who are more vulnerable to online scams and parents of missing children or individuals with relatives who live in another country or state. Criminals search through social media for potential targets and gather as much information as possible to make the scam look as authentic. Many virtual kidnapping calls initially originate in Latin America and target individuals in the US. Acknowledging the effectiveness of this approach, the US-based street gangs started to stage virtual kidnapping masquerades as Mexican cartels to increase the credibility of the threat. Since then, criminals have adjusted the mechanism so that the scams can also work in their region. Chinese students in Australia have become popular targets for virtual kidnappings. In these events, a victim is usually cold called by fraudsters who speak in Mandarin, say that they are from the Chinese government or police. Victims are often told that there's an issue with their passport or visa status or that they are being investigated in relation to a package before saying they may speak to another official who will confirm further details. These scams can be aggressive and elaborate, manipulating common fears and beliefs. Colors can be quite threatening, leaving victims feeling frightened and intimidated. Victims are gradually convinced that the only way to solve the problem is to stage photos of themselves being kidnapped, sometimes even harming themselves to ensure their relatives pay a ransom. Scams of this type have reportedly also been observed in Europe and Asia. Scammers usually prey on the vulnerabilities of individuals who are living far apart. Criminals are continually adapting scripts, often taking advantage of people's trust in authorities. Such scams often remain unreported because of the stigma attached to them. So have you been a victim of any online scams lately? Comment below. And as always, take care of your money.